Welcome, 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 welcome. It is show number 1 of Common Ground with John Theillon. I'm your host, John Theillon. That's me. Yeah. I'm the coach of communication and collectivism. I'm your captain of collaboration and common ground. I'm also your mayor of Reeltown. What that means, for those who may not be familiar with that moniker, is that, well, I strive to always keep it right down the line, truthful, not candy-coated, and as real as can be. And sometimes that's a pill that doesn't go down real easy with people. With others, they crave it. So this is what we're going to do. Folks, I'm coming to you from the flagship studios of the Exceptional Radio Broadcast Network, the ERBN. I want to thank Doc G, Gene Piero, Ruben Diaz, and Jerry Petito for supporting the program here and assisting with Common Ground with John Theillon at Hamilton Media's Hamilton Radio Studios. I also want to thank my radio colleague, once again, Ms. Jerry Petito, for the inspiration for the Common Ground with John Theillon show. Yeah, because she's right in there. She's right in there, okay? Behind the glass, if she hadn't said something about a month and a half ago about, you should be doing your own show, I'm like, what are you talking about? I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today. So thank you, Jerry. In any event, here we go. I've been told that I've been doing this sort of thing for longer and for more years and more settings that I could possibly remember. It's radio, it's TV, cable TV, local sales manager, regional sales manager, national sales manager, as a de facto general manager from time to time. You know, when the big bosses are out or away or otherwise unavailable, seemed I was the one who always got the, hey, John, you got a minute? John, you got a minute? John, you got a minute? And I always had a minute. So we figured it out, whatever it needed to be. I was the coach of communication and collectivism. I was the captain of collaboration and common ground back then. I just didn't know it. I had no idea. We just did what we did. Think of it was, that by talking about whatever is or what is going on as a group, even a group of 2, whenever possible, the collaboration got ramped up, the common ground, meeting solutions, ideas, fixes, and so forth. That was achieved in a more effective and easier way than previously. You got to talk about it, folks. You have to talk about it. That made, back then, and will continue to now, I have to think, for better days, better weeks, better months, better years. And it also made better all the details, the detours, the curveballs, and the surprises that would come along with the daily, monthly, yearly things, and still do. I have to say, they still do. Professionally, personally, relationship-wise, individually, and most certainly collectively. It's common ground, folks. That's what I'm talking about, people. It's common ground. We know it. We all know it. It's, you know, anybody can imagine we're all looking for common ground. It's the actual going toward it, going after it, is what people fall short of, and it's just human nature. I have to tell you, there's going to be a lot of ground, a lot of common ground covered on the show here. We're going to see if we can't do this every week, every Wednesday, and we'll have it on YouTube. I'll have it on my Facebook page. There'll be all kinds of ways to look at it. The information, the insights, the suggestions and recommendations are going to come from everywhere, I have to tell you. Instances and experiences will come from day-to-day things, happenings, you know, from successful people in business and industry, past and current day, from current and former members of radio, TV, motion pictures, entertainment, you know, people who contributed positive thoughts, positive words, and positive actions to society, with or without even realizing it. Maybe not always, you know, it wasn't always as positive as can be, but frequently enough to make a good difference, to make an impact on people. You know people out there who have done that. I think of Paul Harvey. I used to listen to Paul Harvey all the time years ago, and here's a guy who just, hello Americans, this is Paul Harvey, stand by for news. And you stood by because he had something to say, and he had a unique way of saying it that was usually pretty positive. We're going to even get some things from the world of politics. Yes, the world of politics. Could be local, regional, national, worldwide, and of course from you, the listeners. We're going to have ways for you to participate as the show grows, as the show unfolds. In the meantime, just keep listening. Keep checking us out, okay? And the other place we're going to have is, and it's a good one, I have to say, the best bunch of stories ever It's from the Bible. Two things that people reel at, politics and religion, are going to be appropriate components of Common Ground with John Theillon. That's what it's all about. Common ground. There's all kinds of common ground coming from everywhere, I have to tell you. Now, what it's not going to be, let me tell you this, it's not going to be put the bad mouth on or bash this contingent of people or knock that side of the proverbial aisle. Not that sort of thing at all, whether it's politics or anything. At least that's going to not be the intention. There may be some of that comes out by happenstance, but I am not the bull in that china shop. It's being done to death, and we'll do what we do with it, how we do it, differently, distinctively, okay? Now, with the Bible or the spiritual aspects, it's not about jumping up on the proverbial stump and spouting some individual beliefs. That I will leave to you, the listener, okay? That's you, okay? Your beliefs are yours alone, but we're going to talk about, again, common ground type stuff. More coming today, as a matter of fact. In all forms, it's really going to boil down to communication and collectivism, the collaboration, and again, that common ground we're all seeking. It's about being positive, upbeat, can do, being of good cheer, and that's whether, it's about Capitol Hill, Pennsylvania Avenue, your state capital, or places like Jerusalem, Nazareth, Galilee, or Rome a couple of thousand years ago, or whatever else, even somewhat like it that might apply. I have to tell you, I had an ancient history teacher years ago. The guy's name was Mr. Munzel, Max Munzel. I was an eighth grader. And as the school year started, I was 12, about to turn 13 in October. I went into that class as an eighth grader the first day thinking, oh man, this is going to stink. It's just going to suck. Ancient history. How is that going to be fun or interesting? Let me tell you something. In the 17 years that I did school, from kindergarten through 4 years of college, that eighth grade class was hands down the best one that I ever had, period. I say so, and I mention Mr. Munzel's ancient history class because so many of the stories, so much about what he taught, so much was found where? In the Bible. Again, it's the ultimate book of stories. And it's also a real handy font of information, of examples of what to do, how to be, as a group, as a collective, individually too, as a society. And it's also, it tells you what not to do as well. Same general idea now here with politics. Not every politician, from the local dog catcher to the occupant of the White House, not every politician is a total greaseball or is crooked. They're not. Some are. And to me, more than should be are, but that's just me, okay? Actually, there are those who are not. Don't know if you folks out there remember the original Love Boat TV show back from the late 70s through the mid-80s. Guy by the name of Fred Grandy. He played a character named Gopher on the original Love Boat. I hear there's a new one coming out or is out. It's a whole different theme. So the original Love Boat, it was kind of a rom-com TV show. He ended up being a congressman from Iowa, which is where he's from. He got elected into Congress in 1986. I seem to remember him telling about how when he was a congressional freshman, he had all kinds of great ideas, solid ideas, good ideas, efficient ideas to affect different positive action on numerous initiatives and numerous issues. That's good. That's why you get elected. That's why you run for office, and that's why you do what you do. He, however, was told by the old head, greasy, fat cat politicians already in D.C., basically, sit down, son, don't rock the boat. Got it? He lasted 8 years in Washington, but then again, he only lasted 8 years, unlike the Ted Kennedys of the world or the Strom Thurmonds of the world or the Robert Byrds of the world who were who were on Capitol Hill for decades and decades and decades. Fred, however, Fred Grandy, he was one of the good guys in D.C. politics, okay? So things like those initiatives that he was about, we'll touch on that. Here's the thing, the undercurrent, I should say, of Common Ground with John Theillon, again, that's me, in case you didn't know. It's the proverbial glass is always half full. It should be half full, can be half full, period. End of story. It's about going after the positive, the upbeat. Again, having a can-do demeanor about you. And even when the world's falling apart a little bit or going sideways, be of good cheer. Why not? Why not? You know what? There's always tomorrow, okay? Or there's always 5 minutes from now. You know, I thought of a thing. I saw this not long ago. People get so bent out of shape about so many things, and it's largely family members, and they give you the business, and they just go on and on and on, and a half an hour later, they're still droning on about this, that, and the other. You know what? On your cell phone, if someone's got a grouse, a beef, a gripe, set the timer. Just go to the clock and set a timer for 5 minutes, and just tell them, go. You know, hold up the phone and say, go, you got 5 minutes. And when that timer goes down to 0, okay, we're done. In the rearview mirror, moving on, okay? Here's the thing. There's always another thing, actually. There's always going to be that Debbie Downer contingent, the Debbie or Donnie Downer. You know the type. You know the type. You've maybe been married to them. You've dated them. They're family members. They're neighbors. They're people with whom you work. You know, here's an example. Joe Bob from The Office, he hits, he hits a scratch off for, $75,000. He goes into work the next day, says to Jim Bob, hey, man, I won the lottery, to which his reply is, oh, well, you do know you're going to have to pay taxes on those winnings, don't you? Well, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Way to rain on my parade. What they do, how they are, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be like that, okay? That's the whole thing that I'm going to be going after. Nobody's perfect, but boy, if you chase after perfection, you're going to get really good things. Common Ground with John Theillon. This show is not about that negative sort of thing. Remember, it's about things like communication, being the collective, being collaborative, accentuating our common ground, because we have it. It's everywhere. Some people are just hard-pressed to see it or notice it or acknowledge it, okay? It's all right in front of us. Listen, we're all so much more alike than we think we are, especially nowadays when we're told you can't say this, you can't do that, you can't go here, you can't be like something else. No. Here's an example. Picture a beacon on top of a lighthouse, okay? We are all going towards the beacon, whether we know it or not. We really are. In our own ways, from our own perspective, in our own direction. But we're going towards it. We just are. It's just different ways, different paths, different routes, but we all see the beacon. There it is, right there, you know? That beacon, you know what that is? That's the common ground. It's the common ground, folks. It's all about heading toward the beacon. It's about that common ground, okay? Again, we all know it, you know. Now, I can't do it for you. I can't. I can give you information, and then you do with it what you will. But I can't do it for you. I'm good, but I'm not that good. Think of it as either we work at it and we strive and we thrive together in whatever way, shape, manner, or form, you people, a little, a lot, or whatever in between, or we will languish in ongoing mediocrity as individuals. Simple as that. It's as simple as that. It's like being on a team. You know, if you're into sports, you know, that thought came directly from a movie, Any Given Sunday. You know, where either we come together as a team or we will die as individuals. Same thing out in the world. With that in mind, how often, I'm going to ask you this because here's the theme of today. How often do does any of us think boldly, okay? And I mean about you, your family, your overall situation. So many of us, we don't want to appear to be too much. I've heard that all the time. Well, you know, I could, but I don't want to, you know, seem like it's like I'm too much out there. What does that even mean? That kind of thing is 100% subjective. What may be too much, here's the example, meaning what may be too much for one person, folks, one family, one group, may be nowhere near enough for another person, another family, or another group. So yeah, you do you. Go ahead. Example, here's another one. If a 7-year-old 2015 Ford F-150 pickup is your idea of I've arrived, then you know what? Find a way to go and get it. Doesn't matter that your buddy down the street is, how come you want a 7-year-old one? You know what? Because I just like the 2015s. That's why. If that's your idea of I've arrived, then go get it. Now, conversely, if you would like a 2022 Lincoln, and that's doable, go ahead. Get that figured out. Listen, you can't take it with you. Now, I am not saying that you should overextend your finances. That's not the point. No way. But if your situation is such that the 2015 F-150 is it and that's that, or the 2022 Lincoln is a cinch to finagle, get after it. Go do what's good for you. But John, what do the neighbors think? You know, what do my colleagues or my boss think? Who cares? Really, who cares? Let them think what they want. If someone has the gall, the stones to say, yeah, must be nice, you know what the reply is? Yes, you're right. It is nice, thanks. And then you walk away. It's a mic drop moment, really. You know, they don't know. Here's what they don't know. You got that truck that you like or the Lincoln that you're crazy about. They don't know that maybe you've been working Saturdays for the last few years, 2-3 Saturdays a month, so you can get that vehicle, or that you can take that vacation to the Greek Isles, for example, or maybe that you can build that 3-season sunroom you've been jonesing for the last 15 years but just didn't have the money. And you know what? They don't need to know that you're busting your butt overtime Saturdays, okay? It's a big none ya, as in none your business, okay? So, you know, here you go. After 2 years or so, for example, of whacking away on what should have been your day off on Saturday, you went and got that new Lincoln because, you know what? With effort comes reward, and that's the reward you wanted, and that's the reward you were going for. Never mind this Lincoln, this 2022 Lincoln that you just got a week or two ago, never mind it was a demo model with 7,000 miles on it. It's a 2022. You really liked it, and that's all that must be nice guy needs to know. Now, on the other hand, there's also the person that sees that new Lincoln in the driveway, you know, the guy down the street who you know, and is genuinely happy for you. They may say and ask, wow, John, that's fantastic. I've always wanted a car like that or something close to it. How'd you do it? At that point, then yes, coach them up a little bit. You can tell them that you worked 2-3 Saturdays a month for the last 2 years using the approved overtime as a way to afford that Lincoln. Also, you worked it out over at the Lincoln dealership to buy the demo models. Yes, it's the current 2022 model, but you were in no hurry. You didn't need it back in March or April. You made an arrangement. Okay, when the 23s come out, I'll grab that 22 demo. And just as sure as God makes little green apples, people, you know that the Lincoln dealership's taking care of that demo, because when they take people out on a ride to sell that thing, it's got to sparkle. It's got to run properly. Everything has to work and look like a million, you know? So when the 23s came out a few weeks ago, this 22 demo model was waiting for you. And P.S., because it's got 7,000 on it, and it was the demo, you saved about 20% off the new car price by doing it that way. Okay, now that neighbor, when you tell them that, they're going to be grateful and happy for the info, for the tip. Whereas, must be nice guy, he doesn't want to hear it. All he wants to do is grouse, gripe, beef to whomever will let him about, sheesh, you know, Bob and I have kind of similar jobs, and our companies are pretty similar as well, but he somehow got the new Lincoln, or the 2-week vacation to the Greek Isles, or the 3-season sunroom, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Must be nice guy. It needs to either smarten up or just go away. You don't need that negativity in your life. You don't. You identified the common ground that's going to get you to where you want to go. You've got your F-150 at 7 years old. You've got the new Lincoln. You've made arrangements for that 2-week vacation to the Greek Isles. Or you've got that 3-season sunroom. The guys are starting in on it next week. Enjoy it. All the must be nice guys, they can stay home and wallow in grouse. After all, it's what they do. What they don't do is dare to be bold. See what I'm saying? And what they also don't do is continue or somehow at all be aware of the common ground. While I think of it, I want to tell you about, I mentioned Hamilton Radio, Hamilton Media here earlier. I want to say a word or two before I continue about myhamiltonmedia.com. That's one of the places, if not becoming the place to go to. It's our new website over at myhamiltonmedia.com. And you want to listen to what we've got, the music, the shows, the podcasts, everything that we've got. What you do, there's a little white deal up on top there that says, tune in for U.S. listeners. Now, if you're a U.S. listener, that's where you hit. If you're international, you're for Canada or Australia or Mexico, Europe, whatever, there's a worldwide listener button as well, or a tab, so to speak. Hit that. I have to say, you're going to really enjoy myhamiltonmedia.com, specifically listening to the iHeartRadio version of Hamilton Radio. Yeah, we're an iHeart radio station over here at Hamilton Radio. Just got that designation a few months ago, and it's going exceedingly well. The music is great. The content is fantastic. Literally, put it on and just let it go. I'm thinking you're going to be happy you did. First, though, go to myhamiltonmedia.com. and then hit the tune in for U.S. listeners. It kind of reads tune in for us listeners, but you get the idea. Tune in for U.S. listeners. Now, when I'm talking about daring to be bold, folks, here's what I'm not saying. I am not saying be over the top, be way out there, be far out, Don't be out there as a blowhard or some authority on everything who is actually an authority on nothing. Don't do that. Not at all. By bold, I mean think bigger than you usually do. Think better. Think more successfully. This is going to be helpful. It may not. I'm not saying it's a magic wand, but you know what? It's a mindset. It's an alteration of your perspective, if you will. And if you like, here's another thing. This is where the Bible and spirituality comes in. I'm going to mention a few things here, but talk about thinking bigger, thinking more successfully, thinking better. Talk about it to your Creator. Trust me, He's going to hear it. Did you ever hear the saying, if it's going to be, it's up to me? Well, that's pretty much the idea here, folks. Even with all the nonsense that goes on around here these days, compared even to 20, 30, 50 or more years ago, and by the way, there was nonsense then, too. But someone like myself, I'm 58 years of age. 50 years ago, when I was 8 years old, I didn't know from nonsense that goes on with the adults because I was 8. I didn't need to know. But there's always been some nonsense going on around here ever since Cain and Abel, ever since the apple and everything in the Garden of Eden. So even with all the stuff going on around here right now, solid things, big things, fantastic things, folks, they're so doable. And again, it all boils down to what's big, what's important to you. For example, nothing wrong whatsoever, believe me, been there and done it, nothing wrong with taking a nice week or two vacation down at the Jersey Shore. Again, done it, love it. Or maybe Rehoboth Beach is your speed. Maybe you like Cape Hatteras. Maybe you like Myrtle Beach. Maybe you like Navarre, Florida, Panama City, wherever you like. Some fantastic times are waiting in those places when you would choose to go. But what if you took that to another level? What do you mean, John? Glad you asked. What about the U.S. Virgin Islands? Maybe it's Aruba. What about Barbados? Or again, the Greek Isles? Hey, huh? That's some boldness right there. Some vacation-style boldness. And yeah, it's vacation. It's nice to think about it, but you know what? It's doable. It is doable, okay? I knew a guy who, back in 1999, he wanted to take a big soccer fan. Nigel Blair was his name. Nigel wanted to take his sons to the World Cup in 2002, 3 years away. I'm not a soccer guy, so I didn't know where it was. Nigel, where's the World Cup going to be held in 2002? He said, it's going to be in Australia, and I want to take my wife and my 2 boys. And I said, I can help you with that. And he knew, he's like, but he was Jamaican. He still probably is, by the way. He would say, but John, you are not a soccer guy. You are an American football guy. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm an American football guy, but I can help you get there. It's all about mapping it out. It's all about goals. It's all about thinking bigger, better, more successfully. And the long story short there was I mapped it out how he could do it. And he was on his way. Now, with that in mind, let me ask you something. When was the last time you thought of doing something that seemed a little impossible? You know, out of the ordinary. Something that quite possibly you couldn't accomplish on your own. Are you thinking on, or here's one for you, asking our Creator. I'm going to call him the boss, if that's okay with you. And even if it's not, I'm calling him the boss, okay? Our Creator, God, the boss. Are you asking the boss for things that are big enough? Are you? Would you be satisfied? Are you asking for your dreams? Are you asking for the stuff that's maybe a little over your head? Are you? The secret desires, the secret thoughts, the secret petitions, so to speak, that maybe you've got in your heart, your mind, in your being. You know they're there. You know you've got them. You just haven't told anybody. Come on, you know what I'm talking about, okay? We all have these things that we think, boy, I could do that, and then, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's too far out. Or it seems unthinkable, maybe unattainable. You know what? There's many things that are not happening, whether it's with you or whomever, due to not asking the boss to help with these things. The fulfillment of the ideas, the concepts, the initiatives, the dreams that we have, the daring to think boldly, okay? Dare to be bold, you know, while you're reaching for and looking at the common ground. Whoa, it's just ironic how it just all kind of boils right back together, so to speak. And that's for us, our family, our friends, you know, people who are closest to us. Here's the thing, you only think smallish, or for that matter, if you only have a word with the boss about, you know, smallish things, you're never going to see how great things might just and can actually be, thanks to a little help, or more than a little help, from the boss. If you're not thinking boldly, if you're only going after little things, you're likely not going to reach the fullness of what you're after, a destiny, so to speak. You know, you've got to find that out. Forrest Gump's mom was right. You know, Mama, what's my destiny? Oh, Forrest, you're going to have to find that out for yourself. You know what? Yeah, but you've got help. You've got help. You've got the boss. You've got him, okay? These dreams that we have like this, they're attainable. Man, they're doable. But they're too big to tackle on our own sometimes. They're obstacles that we're going to face that are too big to overcome by ourselves. And that's okay. That's okay. If we don't learn to, first of all, ask the boss for some guidance. Second of all, ask the boss for the bigger things in our dreams, you know, things that seem like they're over our head, then you know what? We're going to maybe get stuck, so to speak, right where we are. Now, right where we are might not be real bad, or it might be pretty darn good. And that's okay, too. And then there's the contingent of, I know. Let's not be selfish. Let's not be selfish out there. No. You know, the boss certainly has other more important things to deal with, bigger fish to fry, if you will. Let me tell you something that you may or may not already know. You're not inconveniencing God by asking for some bold things. You're not communicating with him in a bold way. This just in, that's what gets his attention. Deal with that. Know that, okay? Causes things to get put in motion. Bold communication with the boss does. Bold communication with the boss opens doors that you and I couldn't open up by ourselves. No. Bold communication with the boss turns impossible things, impossible situations, impossible scenarios. It helps turn them around. This kind of bold communication, and it's a prayer. Let's call it what it is indicative of faith. And that's a good thing to have, faith, you know. It's knowing that there's nothing that's too difficult for the boss to help with. He can take you and me where we can't, once again, where we can't go on our own. And that is a huge, huge thing to know. Now, where do we easily find verification that bold communication with the boss is the ticket? You know where. You know where. In the Bible. Okay? Here, check this out. And I looked it up. Psalm 2 says, "You're my child. What do you want? Ask me, and I'll give you nations as a present." Nations as a present. What? I'll give you continents as a prize. Stop it. No. Serious. Meanwhile, here we are asking for small things like, you know, help make ends meet, you know. I got to live with an illness. Thanks for helping me out with that. You know, well, I got to deal with this job that I can't stand. Well, thanks for the help there. I appreciate that. Listen, the boss has amazing, awesome things in store for us, for our future, something bigger than we can't even imagine. There's one thing about it, though, and just one thing, just one. You've got to ask. That's it. That's it. All you have to do, you must ask. There are no nations. There will be no nations. There will be no continents, so to say, if you're communicating in a small, weak, limiting manner. You know, help me with my house payment this month, with having enough money for gas and groceries because, you know, inflation and rising prices. True enough. You know, my kid's off course. Help them stay out of trouble. That's communicating, and that's good. But it's asking in an ordinary way. That's okay. But it's set up for ordinary outcomes. Here, you want to communicate and ask boldly? Do it like this, maybe. Help me to pay my house off. Whoa. Help me to have some overflow so I can help pay someone else's house or car off. Whoa. Or, thank you, sir. Thank you, God, for not only protecting my child, but to help them fulfill their destiny. I got thinking, there's a story I heard not too long ago. There was a gal who moved from South America to the Houston, Texas area. And as you might imagine, you know, she didn't speak English really at all. At one point she did, however, as she began to comprehend the English language, she got listening to a local speaker out of Houston talking about asking boldly, just what we're talking about here today, or what I'm talking about, and what, you know, folks are going to put into action. Believing in the dreams that are in your heart. She, believe it or not, she always wanted to start a business that would help people like her to speak English. Once she heard about communicating boldly with the boss, she made it known that she, in fact, wanted to own her own business to help people speak English like she needed to have. Because again, she came here from South America, couldn't speak it. She wanted to be here, needed to be here, had to be here. She needed to learn the language. And again, this was all going on while she wasn't speaking English very well, if at all. She was learning. And what activated her faith is when she got it, so to speak. She had the boldness to ask for it. She dared to ask for what seemed pretty damned impossible. Now, it's been, 10, 12 years from what I understand. This young lady, she's got a hugely successful business. She's taught thousands of people to speak English. The boss has helped with so much more than she could ever imagine. I got to tell you, stuff like this prompts me to wonder if there are dreams locked up in all of us that we maybe have never asked for. You know, stuff, relative to health, healing, businesses, relationships, freedom, spouses. I'm thinking that all it takes is to be bold enough, appropriately, not over the top nonsense like I said before, but bold enough to ask for it. This, and here we go, it's going to come back to being a big part of the common ground that we all want, and are walking on. There's no need to settle for ordinary and just natural when there are extraordinary and supernatural abilities waiting for you, for me, for all of us. You see, put it out there in the universe, into the ether, so to speak, or to whomever and however you pray to. Doesn't matter, There are some, when they hear things like this, will think and even say, well, yeah, what if that doesn't happen, though? That's when my reply is, yeah, well, what if it does? That whatever that is ends up being something even bigger and better. What if it does happen? There's a saying that I learned about 25 years ago that I didn't get right away. If they don't want to go to the movies, you've got to let them. What? At first, again, I didn't understand what that meant. It just seemed like some gibberish from some know-it-all guy who proclaimed to be some advertising expert who we had out in Williamsport, Pennsylvania back in 1997 or 98 or whatever. A guy by the name of Michael Corbett. Okay, he was in town. We had him in. He was meeting with our 4 radio station sales team, and he was going to sit down and have some sessions with some of our clients. But before any of these client meetings went on, he and his partner Dave had us all gather and meet for a day or two, so 2 things could get accomplished. Number 1, to review his book on which his meetings were based. Book called 33 Ruthless Rules of Advertising. And then 2, based upon that book, preheat what these client sessions were going to be like. Well, I have to say, as the week went on, the more and more I read and heard, the more I began to get it. Quick sidebar. If you or anybody you know is a local business owner, and with that, a local advertiser of any kind, I suggest getting the book. It's called The 33 Ruthless Rules of Advertising, What Every Local Advertiser Should Know. Again, by Michael Corbett, Corbett. As you can imagine, we ended up doing good things with and because of Mr. Corbett. Also, again, he initially came off as a haughty know-it-all. Again, an authority on everything. Just one big eye roll relative to what he'd written pertaining to local advertising. And at the beginning of all this, it made me skeptical, more than a little bit. But the more we peeled it all apart, again, collectively, collaboratively, the more it all began to snap together and make sense. It did snap together, and it did make sense. And listen, it's not bragging if you can back it up, and he backed it up. We had him back another few times, by the way. So if they don't want to go to the movies, you've got to let them. Suddenly made sense, to let them not go to the proverbial movies. Or in this case, if they don't want to ask and or communicate boldly with the boss or with whomever about their dreams, for their dreams, and related desires, you know what? You've got to let them. You've got to let them not ask or communicate. Get it? Quickly, while I think of it, I want to take a little half a time out here. Another thing I want to talk about Hamilton Radio, Hamilton Media one more time. Another thing that goes on around here is voiceover work. We do it for radio. We do it for videos, whatever kind of video, fun stuff, whimsical stuff, business things, corporate things, television, motion pictures, wherever there is voiceover work to be done, we can help. We can help. For Hamilton Radio, Hamilton Media, well, actually, Hamilton Media's Hamilton Radio can be a part of, doing the voiceover things that maybe your business, or somebody may be interested in. It's real easy to get a hold of us. Easy. Here's an email for you. It's admin@hamiltonradio.net. One more time, admin, A-D-M-I-N, admin@hamiltonradio, all one word, at hamiltonradio.net. And that'll put you in touch with the folks who you need to know, who can get you what you're looking for. We'll ask some questions, we'll get some answers, and we'll give you what we've got. Or whomever. Might not be me. Or it might. You never know. Anyway, I just wanted to let people know that as a point of solid information, and of course as a thank you for for being here and having Common Ground with John Theillon use the Hamilton Media's Hamilton Radio Studios as home base right now. Got to tell you, and I don't know if you've seen him, I'm sure a lot of you have. Steve Harvey has become one of my favorite speakers. For the longest time, of course, I saw his stand-up. I mean, he was a part of that whole business there at the Apollo Theater years ago. He's the host of Family Feud, you know. He's got his own, or either has had his own talk show. In whatever setting, I've always enjoyed him. I've also thought always that he's sharp, he's witty, he's quick, he's fun, he's observant, he's just plain on the ball. And he's also got his own take on thinking boldly or thinking higher. Let me paraphrase it a bit. You know, this is basically what he has said. He said that, you know, being successful, it's not some magic trick. It's not the boss picking certain people that he's going to make wealthy, and he's picking certain people that he won't. No, All of us, as his children, have the power of choice. We've got to say so in all of this. We can decide to be successful, to be wealthy, to be and or to do what we like. You know, to figure out what does it for us. And with the boss's help, it's absolutely doable. There's so much it's absolutely doable, whatever it may be. Here's the thing. You first have to think it. Hear it again. You first have to think it. And we're thinking of the various it's all the time. You may not even realize it. The difference between successful people and people who are not successful is right here, between your ears, in your head, in your mind. No one's any better than anybody else. Not a better person than you. Not a better Christian than you, or a Jew, or a Muslim, or Hindu, or Buddhist than you. No. The boss doesn't love me more than he loves you. Does not. There's none of that. If you want to be successful, you have got, I have got, we have got to change what's in our heads, in our minds. It's got to change. What makes it difficult is our lack of belief that such things can actually happen. It's basic human nature, I suppose. But the fact is, it's very doable. We've got to change. If we keep doing what we've been doing, you're going to get what you've been getting. I know you've heard that before. I think we all have, but it bears repeating. One more time. If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to get what you've been getting. So, if you are in a place in your life and you're not particularly happy with it, you've got to change. Making the conscientious decision to do that you need to, rather, that you want to, that you're about changing. And here's the other thing. This change is not dependent upon anybody else. It doesn't matter what your parents think, what mom or dad thinks, what your grandparents think if they're still around. I hope they are. Mine are not, and I don't like that. Sidebar, by the way. Doesn't matter what your co-workers or colleagues think. Doesn't matter what your sisters or brothers think. Doesn't matter what your children think. It doesn't matter. It just does not. They, when it all is said and done, they've got nothing to do with it, with the change that you want to do. A decision like this decision, it's yours. Yours alone. Period. And that's just as real as I can be, as, once again, the mayor of Real Town. Every day there are 2 people born in the hospital, by the way, okay? The first person, there's the person born in the hospital, that's one day he's going to get a job. They're going to get a job. And then there's a second person born in the hospital, they're going to give the first person that job. We get to decide which one we're going to be. We get to decide whether we're going to be rich, poor, average, plentiful, happy, sad. You've got a decision to make, folks. So do I. We all do. Ready for a teachable moment? Here's something. a coaching opportunity, if you will. Let me give this to you so that you can go on making the best of the rest of this year and then onward until further notice. You walk into the house, you pick up the remote control. Let me teach you how this works. And you press the power button, okay? By the way, 2022 can end up being one of the best years of your life, but you've got to claim it. You've got to expect it to be the best year of your life. You've got to live your life with the expectation that great things are going to come your way. That's thinking higher. That's thinking boldly. That's striving for that big old common ground. And this is how it works. Let me tell you. You grab that remote. Back to that again. You grab the remote. You press the power button. What do you expect is going to happen? You expect the TV to come on. Guess what? It comes on. Stop. If you want to check the scores from the night before here in the New York City area, you go on, you click on Sports Night on SNY Sportsnet New York. That's the New York City area sports channel. Covers the Mets, Yanks, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Rangers, Devils, Islanders, Rangers, all of them, in case you didn't, and all the local college sports, in case you didn't know what SNY was, if you're not from New York, New Jersey, Lower Connecticut. The high-def version of SNY at my house is channel 843. So you grab the remote, you hit the thing, you hit the button, the power button, and on comes the television. You hit 843, and you hit select or OK or whatever the thing is on the remote, okay? And boom, there you go. What do you expect to come on TV at that point? SNY Sports Night, right? That's what you expect. Now, guess what shows up? SNY on Sports Night on SNY. Sports Night on SNY. The concept of creating a remote, believe it or not, was obtained from the Bible. You're like, what? Yeah. Listen, again, God, the boss, your creator, it's tied into all of this. You need to understand it. It's not a religion thing. It's just the thing. The Bible says a man is as he thinks. Dig that. A man is as he thinks, which a few minutes ago I said, remember the old, if it is to be, it's up to me. It's a version of that, I have to think. So the boss created us in his image. Remember that, okay? He thought up the world. He thought of it. So you know what? He created it. And then he made you and me just like him, knowing that your thoughts, too, can create things. So, all right, we can't go and create and make earth and heaven. That's already been done. Okay, but we can make a better world for ourselves. We can think big, think boldly, think higher. Average schmaverage, mediocre schmediocre, it's enough. That's not making a better world for ourselves. Creating big, higher, bold expectations, and by extension, big and higher, bold outcomes. Whoa! Dig that, man. That's the ticket. And that, once again, is just so very doable. It really is. I have to tell you. And where, once again, do we continue to find verification and validation that this is fact? Again, it's in the Bible. There's a scripture also. I looked it up. Rebecca 2:2. It says, write the vision and make it plain, so that they who read it will run to it. And even though it tarry, which means take a long time, even though it tarry, wait for it, for surely it'll come at an appointed time. Wow. That's in the Bible. Which, you know, you hear this from people, well, I saw it on the internet, it must be true. Okay, no. Conversely, if you see it in the Bible, it's probably pretty much true, okay? And it's in the Bible, not just the rich people's Bible, not just that guy's Bible or her Bible. It's in everybody's Bible. The problem is everyone doesn't do it. And by it, I mean write it down. I don't know, put it on a notepad, put it on a paper napkin, put it on an 8.5 by 11-inch piece of paper, a whiteboard, a vision board. It's right there. It's right there. Do it. Why not? All you've got to do is do it. And if you don't do it, it's very difficult, damn near impossible. I'm telling you, as Steve Harvey himself has said, everything I write down on my vision board, I get. Think about that. There's a guy who lived in his car for 3 years. There's a guy who got the heads up when he was in Florida about the gig in New York City at the Apollo Theater and didn't have the money to drive up to New York City. He got there anyway because if it's to be, it's up to me. I've done it too. I've done it too. Some years ago, I had to have, back then, this is probably almost 30 years ago, I wanted a slightly older, big land yacht type of car. I'd never had one myself, and for some reason it was on my I gotta do this list, okay? Again, early to mid-90s, I'm thinking 93. I didn't write it down, but instead of writing stuff down, what I did do is I cut out pictures of the big cars of the day that I kind of like. I taped them up by my desk in my work area. Buick Roadmaster, Lincoln Town Car, Cadillac DeVille, Olds 98, Mercury Grand Marquis, Chevy Impala SS, all of them. Big honking cars. Not too long after, dig this, I'm going through the drive-thru at the McDonald's near where I lived at the time, just outside of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Just beyond the back of the McDonald's parking lot, as I'm going through the drive-thru, there was this little, well-kept little used car dealership. And what did they have staring me right that day in the face? A 1988 Lincoln Town Car. White, with the white half vinyl Landau top, the turbine alloy wheels, not just hubcaps, the dark blue leather interior, 5-liter Mustang V8 under the hood, you know, that was it. That was it. Long story short, within a week or two, I'd made the arrangements to buy that car. It was mine. And I have to think, because I put up those big car photos around my desk where I spent a lot of time working, that had a good impact on my actions. I wrote it down, so to speak. Okay? Back to the vision board example. Understand this. The things you put on your vision board, they're not going to come about when you want them to happen or come about. These things will come at an appointed time. That's the trick, and that's what throws people off as well. Whenever you ask the boss for something, you got to know that he sends it. He absolutely does. He ships it immediately. As soon as you ask for something, whatever it may be, he boxes it up, tapes it up, and sends it out ASAP. Now, the other side of that coin is that he never informs us about the date when that package is due to arrive. That's not how he does it. It's not how it works, okay? That can be frustrating for a lot of people. I know it's been for me, and more than from just time to time. But know this, if he told us when that package would arrive, it'd wreck the requirement that he asks of all of us, and that's faith. Faith is the belief in or about the things that we cannot see. So if you boldly ask the boss for, I don't know, $1 million, and he let you know, for example, that, yep, you're going to get it late January 2023, you wouldn't need faith. You wouldn't need it at all. You'd be crazily thinking and talking to people all about it, because you know that in late January, in about 3 months, in 2023, you're going to be a millionaire. But in actuality, he did send that million right when you asked for it. But it'll arrive at an appointed time. The problem is people start waiting on their package. Then, when it arrives, because he only delivers to Faith Street, and you stepped out off of Faith Street, you're over a few blocks on I Don't See How Circle, the boss doesn't ship there. He doesn't. So rather than hanging in over there on Faith Street, you went over to I Don't Believe It Boulevard, or it's Taking Too Long Avenue. When the package arrives back on Faith Street, it's just like the post office or DHL or UPS or FedEx. If you're not there to receive it, it's got to go back. That's how it works, kids. It's as simple as that. In a scenario like this, you get it about halfway right. Why? Because you did dare to talk, to ask, even pray boldly. And that's, again, that's going to attract attention to the asking, the talking, the praying boldly. But to get it all the way right, all the way done, all the way complete, staying around boldly, that is the ticket. That's the requirement. You've got to stay over on Faith Street. People may see you staying on Faith Street and think, man, What a nut. Total kook. Look at him over there on Faith Street. What is he thinking? You know what? Let him think that. Let him think it. Let him. One way or the other, they're going to see it, and they're going to understand. One way or the other. Tell you what, thousands of years ago, a lot of people also thought some guy named Noah was off his rocker. A nut. A total kook. And then you know what else happened? It started to rain. Folks, here's the thing. Dare to be bold. Dare to do your thing. Dare to walk your walk and talk your talk. Dare to be you on the way to the things that do it for you. And in the process, or as they say in Canada, the process, firm up that communicative, collective, collaborative, common ground. By these things, I stand. Okay? That's all of it for today, kids. Give the rest of the day and the rest of the upcoming week your best shot. We're going to do it again in about a week. I'm going to slide on out of here. Okay, so till next time, this is Common Ground with John Theillon. So long.